Welcome back everyone to my farm and to my channel. Today I wanted to show you a quick and easy recipe for sauerkraut. Anyone can do this at home with just a few pieces of equipment, nothing special. It's actually relatively easy and it's cheap and it's great for your gut health. So welcome and thanks for joining us. Alright, so several years ago I started making sauerkraut. I had read up on it and learned how good it is for gut health and how gut health affects your whole body and how it functions, even as far as your emotions and your mood go. Gut health is extremely important, and I think people don't realize how important it is, and sauerkraut's an easy way to add these probiotics into your diet in a delicious way too. You're going to want to pick up half-gallon mason jars. Walmart even carries these now. And you're going to want to get this fermentation kit. What this is, it's a special lid that has an airlock on it. And what an airlock does is it allows the pressure to escape when it builds up in there. This particular kit comes with two of everything you need to ferment your sauerkraut at home. It also comes with these springs. And I'll show you how these work. And if you're like me and you have a big family, you might want to just skip the half-gallon mason jars and go right to owning a crock. Now, a 1-gallon crock is too small for me and the 5-gallon are much too big. So I got a 2-gallon crock. A lot of hardware stores carry these crocks now. You can also order them online. We actually order these online. But then after I had ordered that online, I found out that my local hardware store carries these. I had the 1-gallon and the 2-gallon in store where you could go and pick them up. If you get a crock, you're going to want to get the weights. The weights are different sizes depending on what size crock you get. And then I even got the lid that keeps it from bugs and stuff getting in it. This is what the lid looks like. It keeps it dark in there because you don't want like sun penetrating your ferments. If you can, keep them in a dark place. If you're doing the mason jars, I always keep mine in the cabinet while it's fermenting. If you're getting into the whole wild fermentation, you're going to want this book. It's by Sandor Katz, and he's got all kinds of stuff in here. Everything from wild fermenting beer to sourdough bread. He's got all kinds of grain ferments. It's a great book. But yeah, I would highly recommend this. I got it on Amazon. You're going to want big bowls. Something to pound your cabbage with. So I have a marble rolling pin. That's what I usually use. And you're going to want high quality cabbage. I got mine at Sprouts. It's organic. I think that's really important, that especially when you're fermenting and you're drawing all this stuff out of the vegetable, that you use organic. And then you're going to want a really sharp knife. I like using a serrated knife. If you don't want to use a knife, you can use a food processor. I don't like using a food processor because I like mine kind of coarse cut. So that's why I use a knife. You're also going to want a scale because we're going to weigh the cabbage. That's how we're going to know how much salt to add. My friend Jolie recently got me into Baja Gold. This is also very high quality salt from a very pure source. There's a lot of sea salts you have to watch because they have plastics in them. This particular one comes from a very clean part of the planet where that's not an issue. I wouldn't recommend using table salt ever. It's toxic. Alright, so we're just going to peel a couple of these leaves off. And you're going to want to get a nice leaf that you peel off. And you're going to want to put this aside, and I'll show you why. So save one of your leaves. We'll cut it in half. Now I usually cut this out right away. You have the core, or where the stem attached to the plant. That is like solid, and you don't want to make sauerkraut from that. Give it to your chickens. Everyone appreciates cabbage. Well, maybe not everyone. I sure do. Alright, you're going to want to cut it into quarters now. I'm going to lay the flat side down, and I'm going to simply just cut it into thin strips. I'm going to turn the scale on now with the bowl on top. That way it subtracts the weight of the bowl. And you guys, you can also cut it, if you want, you can cut the piece in half also and make it shorter pieces. Alright, this is going to be 3 pounds. I'm going to go ahead and put this bowl aside, and I'll remember that we have 3 pounds in this bowl, because that's important to know the weight. Go reset the scale after I put the bowl in there, and do the same thing. Okay, so this one came out to about 2.5 pounds, and this one's 3 pounds. You know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to make this one 2.5, and I'm going to make that one 3 pounds, because that's a bigger bowl. Now you're going to need whatever you're going to use to bruise up your cabbage. We're going to bruise it to the point where we want liquid coming out of it. You also can use your hands and you squeeze it. You need really strong fingers to do this. I usually beat mine first and then I squeeze it when it loosens up some. For obvious reasons, you don't want to use a glass bowl. So either like a wood bowl or a metal bowl. So this is going to take several minutes, and I want to let you guys know I have noticed in the spring and summertime, and even into the fall when the cabbage is growing out in the fields, it has a lot more moisture in it. I've noticed with this you have to beat it a lot more to break it up where that moisture starts coming out of it. I guess because it's probably grown like in a greenhouse or something, and it's just different this time of year. I really want to bruise this up good. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see the moisture that's coming out of it now, and how it's like half the amount, it looks like half the amount that we started off with because we really condensed it now. You can now start using your hands if you want and just squeezing it as hard as you can. I think this also adds certain types of yeast into the cabbage to help along the fermentation process. Sourdough, it's the same thing. The yeast from your skin gets on the product and it helps it ferment. This is a workout for your fingers, that's for sure. Okay, so I wanted to show you side by side. This is as good as I'm going to get it, I do believe, because it's drier cabbage later because it's winter time right now. You want to squeeze it where there's liquid coming out. I think I've beat this as much as I can. I don't think much else is going to happen at this point. But you see the liquid? I think it's probably been 15 minutes of pounding and squeezing. You see the moisture on the surface of it? This is the other bowl we haven't messed with yet. You see the difference in how it looks? So we're at the point where we add the salt now, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this one too before I do this one. And we're salting both at the same time. Okay guys, so depending on how salty you like your sauerkraut, you're going to want to add 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons per pound of cabbage. I do 1.5 teaspoons. I think 2 teaspoons is too salty in my opinion. So I need to add 4.5 teaspoons to this right here. So just sprinkle it on top. You can add all the way up to 6 teaspoons for 3 pounds if you want. You don't want to go lower than 1.5 teaspoons though per pound, because then it's not going to ferment right. You might end up getting pathogens in it. So definitely stick with at least 1.5 teaspoons per pound for safety reasons. Since we added that, we're just going to take our fingers and we'll mix it in. And doing this is also going to draw more liquid out of it. You're going to want liquid in it because when we put in the jars, you want the sauerkraut to be below the liquid. And if it's not good enough, we'll add a little bit of water so that it's covered. But hopefully it's okay. See how nice that's coming out when I squeeze it? That's what you want to see. I'm going to show you guys how to do this one in the mason jar. So all of you who couldn't take my workshop on sauerkraut, you have this now. So I'm hoping it helps you guys with your wellness journey. And we're going to just start adding the sauerkraut to it. If you want, you can use a canning funnel. This was 3 pounds. So this is a whole head of cabbage going into this 1 jar. You might want to pick up 2 heads of cabbage if you want to do a whole gallon. You know what? It doesn't quite make a whole half gallon. I'm going to take my next bowl that I made, and this was, what was it? This was 2.5 pounds. I would want 4 teaspoons, is that right? So it's actually, I did the math on the calculator, it's 3.75 teaspoons. I'm going to go ahead and do 4. And I'm really surprised out of 2 big heads of cabbage. Once you squish it down, it really doesn't make that much. So look, see all the juice squeezing out? That's what you want to see. So we don't have to add too much more to this. The whole reason for the spring is to push the sauerkraut down below the liquid. That way it doesn't get moldy. You put the leaves on top of the sauerkraut. Can you see that? And then we're going to put the spring on. You know why I am just going to add a little bit of water. I want the sauerkraut to be below the water. Just a little. And as it ferments, there's going to be more liquid that comes out of it too. Alright, you just screw the lid on. See that? And the cabbage leaves pushes all the loose bits of sauerkraut below the water. And depending on how strong you like your sauerkraut, we're going to age it. I typically age it for 10 days to 2 weeks. Some people don't like it as fermented, so you probably could get away with just fermenting it for a week. Also, and another thing to consider, this time of year it's going to take longer to ferment because it's cooler. In the hot summer months, these ferment a lot quicker. So keep that in mind if you're doing this recipe in the summertime, in the warmer weather. You want to keep an eye on it. And you don't want to put a regular lid on this. You want to make sure it's got the airlock so that gas can be released, because you don't want your jar exploding. Okay, so if you want to save a few bucks and not go all out and buying these this fermentation kit, you can buy these fermentation lids. And these are very versatile. You can use them for if you're making milk kefir, kombucha, or even wine. And all it is a rubber lid. And if you look real close, you can see that slit. That way gas can escape. So instead of using the spring, you still want to do the cabbage leaf on top. And then you want to buy these. These are called canning weights. And what this does is it pushes it down for you. See that? And then you'd want a canning ring that comes with the lids. And you just sit that on top and you screw that down. And that's the same thing as if you use the spring system. I prefer the spring system, but I wanted to show you guys that as an option. We're going to use the spring. And I also want to let you guys know, you don't want to cook your sauerkraut. It tastes good cooked, but it actually kills all the beneficial bacteria if you cook it. So what I usually do, if I'm doing pork and sauerkraut, I cook my pork with some sauerkraut, And then when it's done cooking, I add raw sauerkraut to it, so we still get the probiotics from it. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this up in the cupboard. It's gonna be there for a couple weeks undisturbed. You don't have to do anything at this point. And just let it ferment. I'm gonna go ahead and add the sauerkraut to the crock. Just an empty crock. I'm actually doing 2 more heads of cabbage right now because I'm going to have a lot of extra space if I don't fill it up. So if I'm fermenting for 2 weeks, I may as well fill this up. So I added 2 more heads of cabbage to what we already made. And I'm still not filling this crock completely. I probably could have done an additional head of cabbage, so I probably could fit 4 heads of cabbage in this 2-gallon crock. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be full to be able to ferment this. Okay, so I'm going to kind of mix it around because it's been sitting for a minute. Okay, and when you push down on it, you see the water coming up between my fingers? That's what you want. Save more cabbage leaves so we can lay these on top and kind of keep all these little pieces down. It'll help a little bit anyway. And then I'm going to take my weights. I'm going to set these in here. I'm going to push all that kraut down. See the water coming up? That's what you want to see. I'm not even going to add water to this batch. There's no reason to. I'm going to put the lid on and let it go for a couple weeks. And when it's done, this is what it's going to look like. This is heaven in a jar right here. So I hope this video was educational for you guys. And I hope that you learned how to make sauerkraut watching it. And just so you guys know, I have a lot of product left for sale. I just got 2 steer back from the butchers. I still have chicken and pork. So I got you guys covered on all the meats if you need any of those. And I thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. God bless.